Washington. In the days leading up to the white nationalist Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, that left one counter-protester dead and scores injured, Mayor Michael Siner took to Twitter to highlight the counter-programming going on at the University of Virginia, the school where he earned his law degree in 2004 and where today he lectures at the Batten School for Leadership and Public Policy. Saturday, August 12, was set to be a day of reflective conversation to coincide with the arrival of alt-right, neo-Nazi and white supremacist protesters in the central Virginia town of less than 50,000 people. Shops and restaurants in downtown Charlottesville, which is 23% black, posted signs in their windows declaring, "We are a safe space and, if equality and diversity aren't for you, then neither are we." Since then, Siner, 44, has emerged as a fierce public critic of the president's slowness to condemn the violent attacks in his city and also as an important voice for the New South's reckoning with its difficult history. Few people in American politics, it turns out, were as well positioned as Siner for the face-off. Siner wrote his Ph.D. dissertation at the University of California, Berkeley, on demagogues and how the Founding Fathers sought to prevent their rise in America. It became the basis of his first book, Demagogue, The Fight to Save Democracy from Its Worst Enemies, published in 2009. His second tome was on James Madison, the fourth American president, who also served as the second rector of. Trump is a demagogue. Not just in a casual sense, but in the most powerful meaning of the word, and he should be confronted as such, Siner wrote in December 2015. Demagogues, he wrote in February 2016, imperil their countries in the international arena, surround themselves with incompetent and dangerous advisors, threaten dissenters, and are at risk of falling prey to their own passions. After Trump's disastrous Tuesday press conference, in which the president angrily described some of the torch-bearing night protesters who chanted against Jews as some very fine people, that analysis looks prescient. Related slideshow. Violent clashes erupt at Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. A debate over the statue that had been percolating since 2013 came to a head in March 2016 thanks to the efforts of council member Wes Bellamy and a local high school student, who petitioned the city council to take down the statue and rename the park. That prompted a broader examination by the city, culminating in a February 2017 vote by the council to take the statue down. Supporters of leaving the statue in place sued to challenge their authority. Virginia is the state with the highest number of Confederate monuments in the country. It also has rules on the books barring localities from taking them, or other war memorials, down. The case remains open and awaits judicial ruling. In the meantime, the park has been renamed Emancipation Park. Related slideshow. Confederate statue toppled in Durham, North Carolina. Others vandalized as cities consider removal of such monuments. When this protest first started a year and a half ago about the Robert E. Lee statue, my interest was in taking the issue as broadly as possible, not just having a debate on one statue or another statue, but looking at the issue of race in our public spaces writ large, said Siner, who has taught seminars on race and policy at and co-founded the Center for the Study of Race and Law there while a student. So we created a Blue Ribbon Commission on Race, Memorials, and Public Spaces. It had 9 members, the majority of whom were African American. They held 17 public hearings over 6 months. They were charged by the City Council with changing the narrative by telling the full story of race in our public spaces. Their conclusions surprised a lot of people, he said. The vast percentage of these people were outsiders, Siner said of the neo-Nazi and other alt-right protesters. Charlottesville is one of the most diverse, progressive, dynamic, and tolerant places you've ever seen. We became a target because we decided about a year and a half ago at long last to start telling the whole story of race in our city, as a southern city. That made us a target for people who don't want the narrative changed and the story told about race and our history. So they came here to try and terrorize us and intimidate us away from our work. But the thing is, they picked the wrong city. We will not be dissuaded, and we will not be intimidated, and if anything this will result in a more dynamic, more diverse, and more effective city working for racial harmony and racial equity. That work involves bridge building across parties. Signer sat down with local representative Tom Garrett, RVA, for the first time on Monday, and working with the Department of Justice's Community Relations Service, an office started under the 1964 Civil Rights Act that works with communities that have experienced racial and ethnic tension and civil disorder. While I've been critical of the choices Trump made in his campaign, and while I'm very wary of the dangers of dancing with the devil in American public life, I am much more focused right now on the work that we all have before us of rebuilding and strengthening our democracy, Signer said. If he wants to join, that's terrific. And if he doesn't want to, the rest of us are going to do it without him. Correction, due to an editing error, Garrett was initially listed as a Democratic lawmaker instead of a Republican.